Dude, that's what people don't understand in America is that like everything in the culture has become meaningless. Everything in the culture has become like some caricature of itself. So when people want to say that like, oh, white people don't have any culture, it's like, yeah, they don't. But neither does, I mean, here's the thing. If you live here long enough and you live in America and you live in this type of society long enough, nobody has, you become a part of, this is the thing. Like Americans of European descent, they use some sense of like, it was basically like the mainstream American culture for a long time. Now that thing that's gone, almost gone. So it's like we saw in like the 90s, maybe still in the early 2000s. There was the 80s, whatever, whenever it was like a lot of what America's actual cultural expression was in this kind of hollowing out of the mainstream culture, which at one point, maybe the 50s and 60s, actually, with all of its problems, whatever, had its own legitimacy in that time frame. And actually, man, like, the subcultures of Black America have been pervasive honestly, since like the turn of like when art started to be commercialized. And that stuff been going on forever. There's always been like enclaves of different cultures and stuff, but it's like people couldn't become aware of it until like the radio came around, or until they invented like records or making movies or whatever. So you want to talk about like jazz music as we look at jazz now as like a staple of American music. At the time, it was like this very subversive thing that wouldn't have been recognized. People like um, in hindsight reference it as this like great bastion of Black culture, and it is. But it's like at the time in that era, it was like I guess I wasn't alive, so I don't really know. But it's like it's not like I'm sure it wasn't seen as like in the greater sphere as like some kind of like, because people, this is what happened. And I think this speaks to a lot of what people have a problem with this thing is that corporate America will see it, but it will do whatever. It actually doesn't care about anything. All it cares about is just making money, right? So however it can get its tendrils into marketing efforts that are going to allow it to make money, it will do that. End of story. So it's like whatever comes into the culture of consciousness, and now. So if you want to talk about jazz music, that's almost like too long ago to compare. That's kind of my point. It's like those eras are so in the past that it's impossible to give it any sort of credence in this conversation, although it obviously has its own place. What I'm talking about is like the burgeoning of like the new era of of media and the cultures that existed after that. So you have a lot going on in that context post 1960, I would say. Anyways, um, but yeah, there came a point. There was a point. There was maybe like a 10-15 year period where Black culture at large, and it still is, but my greater point, I'll get there. But there was a time when Black culture kind of became like there would as like mainstream American white culture disappeared and was, you know, this is the thing about capitalism, man, is that any sort of culture can't survive. There'll be there'll be levels of any, you can bring anybody into any sort of pre-existing notion of what you are. When you enter a society that is based on consumerism and capitalism, you will become a consumer under that regime, like no matter what. That's what happens. So like there's no ability to escape that. So I think what's happening now as we move into this era is you're seeing, you know, like the rap as like rap music and greater Black culture, it became like it became like the only real cultural thing still happening. See, as capitalism started to steal white people's culture, and I'm not saying steal in that sense. I'm just saying it just goes away. Like that, it takes away any sort of context that you exist in, and you get turned into just a consumer. You are a consumer. You are here to buy things. You are here to spend money. You are here to purchase things. That's all. That's it. End of story. So in that context, like legitimate cultural instantiation, legitimate cultural experience, legitimate cultural identity doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. It gets pulled. It gets destroyed. It gets stolen. Whatever you want to call it. So it's like I think in the last this is kind of what happened, man. Like all this, like the Black Lives Matter stuff, all of that. What ended up happening is that the mainstream corporate enterprise, it said we can start to make money off of this. Now we can market to people based off of this, and like that was the thing. I think it turned. It was, and this has been happening for a long time with like political correctness. And I'm not saying any of it's bad. I'm not critiquing being woke on its face. I'm not critiquing any sort of like social awareness like that. That's obviously like a required thing, and it's been long overdue in society. But what I'm saying is when that starts to happen, when the cultural consciousness starts to turn in a way that understands when it starts to look at things in that way, the culture at large, the capitalist machine will start to take advantage of it. So it took in these ideas of equality and equity and whatever, all this shit, and it said, this is now going to become a marketing campaign for us. We're going to use this to make money. And as soon as that starts to happen, you lose the authenticity of it. So that, I think, honestly, that was the moment that and it's been happening for a couple of decades now, but like Black culture in America started to go just like white culture did. And it's like, it just eats everything, dude. There's no escaping it. You can't escape it. Now you're going to see there's no R&B music like that anymore. There's no fucking like soulful shit. They're not making that anymore. It's shaking your ass, and it's fucking stealing Kias and shit. Like it's gone. Whatever they had, that special fucking shit that they had for like 50 years, from jazz music up until fucking Mike Jackson and Kendrick Lamar's first album. Maybe Kendrick Lamar's first album might have been the last great artistic expression of the Black experience in America. I honestly think that might be true. Good Kid, Mad City, like that honestly was like that's like a peak hip hop album. That if you go listen to that, man, you're experiencing life as he knows it. And I can tell that you just come from a white person. Like that's what we had, man. The culture we had real art in that. It wasn't coming from fucking country music. It wasn't coming from anything in the mainstream. It was coming from hip hop. It was coming from Black people. It was coming from Black culture. And now we fast forward 13, 14, 15 years from that, it's gone. That's what, dude, Kendrick Lamar's funeral, or his fucking halftime performance, was a funeral. It was a memorial service for Black culture, man, because it's gone, because they took it. Capitalism will eat everything. And I'm telling you, man, fucking like Latin music is becoming popular. I guarantee as soon as in like 15 years, when all the Latino culture starts getting big in America, they're going to take that too. And it's going to be gone. And like whatever else comes, whether whatever legitimate cultural identity comes to America, it will be taken. It will be stolen by capitalism, and it will. Everything gets washed into this gray bullshit. And you can look across the street. This hotel I'm at, there's a big Target over there, and there's about 20 other box stores. Okay, and there's a big parking lot full of asphalt and parking spaces and curbing, and that's your culture now. Your culture is a Home Depot and a Lowe's. Your culture is Walmart. That's what you have now. There's nothing else. You don't get to keep that cool shit you came with. You don't get to keep the special experience, the special 3,000 year history. No. That's gone. And you've traded it in for McDonald's. You've traded it in for Burger King. And don't get me wrong, I love Burger King, makes a great hamburger. But they can't fill the fucking hole that's inside of you. And losing black music, man, like losing rap, like real fucking rap, that one hurts the whole fucking generation. Like we all are gonna miss it. I'm telling you, it's not coming back. I don't know what's gonna come next. I'm sure that there will always be a legitimate art that follows. There will always be something. There will be something springing from the underground that is real. And then it'll become big, and then they'll take it. And it'll happen over and over until this place crumbles to the ground. And honestly, I don't know if China immune to this. You know what I mean? Like Japan isn't immune to this. Korea isn't immune to this. It's every place on earth. Like it is the force of capitalism. It is the force of the market. And this is what people don't want to talk. I'm all for making money. When you want to talk about a culture, it can't be based on that. Man, Target is the cathedral. You go look at our society. This town I'm in right now, this suburb, it's the focus of this quote unquote town is a shopping center with a Target and a famous footwear. And when you got that, you got nothing. When you've just got that, you've got nothing. And the thing is, the real thing is, you won't know till it's gone. You won't feel it being lost. You won't feel it being taken from you because it happens overnight. And it happens when you sleep. And it happens while your kids are growing up. And it happens on your lunch break. And it happens between the years you went to college and high school. And you wake up one morning and it's gone. And it's not coming back. It's not coming back.